Welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia. I am your host, Lauren Lau, coming live but recorded from Armenia, Colombia. And happy Father's Day. Or happy Father's Day. Got to put some energy in it, right? Is there a Grandfather's Day or a Great Grandfather's Day? I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. If you know, let me know. I'm kind of curious. So, why no live today? Well, I did announce 2 weeks ago and last week, 2 weeks ago, possibly last week, I said pretty much for sure. And I put comments on the YouTube community webpage and on the Adventures in Grand Colombia Facebook page and a few other places that there would not be a coffee time live video today. It's only about twice a year, and I had my reasons. As usual, they're generally personal reasons, but also part of it, if it wasn't for being an election day, there probably would be a coffee time live. But combined with what I'm dealing with and also being election day, I'm going to have a live probably tomorrow. It'll come on live about what happened in today's election. I don't have a lot to say about the election right now because it's happening. Yuka, I want to thank you. This morning, I received a contribution, and 2 days ago, I think, I received another HD chillin'. I want to thank you guys. I appreciate it. You're always there. It's people like you that actually keeps this thing going. It's not the easiest thing to do, although I look forward to it. And most of the time I enjoy it. But like anything else, when you're doing something over 6 years now, there's days when, I just don't feel like it. But that's actually rare. I got out this week. I was feeling pretty good, feeling pretty healthy. And I went back to Pueblo Tapao, or Tapado, depending on how you interpret it, and I'll talk about that. I went back and got some clips to make up for the ones that I lost, and I'm going to put together in the next few days the video of Pueblo Tapao. I love the little place, and I guess what I'll do is I'll narrate it. There is a little story behind it, how it came to be, and these two competing little towns that have kind of grown together. So I'm gonna talk about that. It's not far. It's 11 minutes by car from the southern border of Armenia down. It's not very far away, and it's a very pleasant drive actually. Tree lined over the canopy of the trees, kind of makes you feel like you're in a tree tunnel. So it's pretty cool. So we got the election today. And I'm tired of studying it. I'm tired of it. I've been studying Colombian politics since I was here before, since before I came here before. So we're talking 21, 22 years. I've been studying Colombian politics. And in the last 10 years or so, it's changed like the rest of the world. It's become a big socialist influence, a world organization that has its influence, and they essentially have infiltrated the university system. And so today what you're going to see is Petro's supporter, who is the criminal socialist, the murderer. People say, don't say that, you get yourself in trouble. No, everybody knows it. He was a convicted criminal. Unfortunately, only served 2.5 years in prison for it because a previous president, Santos, trying to make a deal with the FARC and the ELN and look good for the world, to get a peace prize or something. And he ended up getting out of jail. Should have had a life sentence. But when you go to Bogota and you go to the plaza, the main plaza of Bogota, Bolivar, of course, and you and a small group of your minions gunned down over 100 Colombian citizens, men, women, and children, I don't think it should be a 2.5-year pass. But there's a lot of people in this country that are old enough to firsthand remember that horrifying episode, and they are very much anti-Petro. Now, you have a fair amount of young people, because it's a relatively young-aged country, that don't know that. And they know better than their parents because they're going to university, and we were all the same way, right? So it's like, your parents don't know anything, and because you're, I don't know. And I've talked to quite a few people like that. But the upside is that traditionally here, the people that don't vote, and no, the vote is not mandatory here, although they tend to have very good turnouts, but it's young people that tend to not show up to vote. So, we'll see. And I looked at 4 national polls 2 days ago, I think. I get sick of the politics here, just like in the U.S. You just get so much of it. But I looked at these 4 polls, and it was kind of interesting. They had basically all 4 had the race within a few percentage points. 2 of the polls were done by leftist newspapers in the country. There's several, and the one in Bogota is actually a very big, influential one. And they're the kind of paper that pick it up and read it. The current president can never do anything right. They're always looking. I mean, even if they don't have any news that day, they'll find some reason to, talk about what a scumbag he is. It's because of the political bias. And, he's accused all the time of things that he had nothing to do with, and he's been cleared on a number of accusations, but it doesn't matter. They're going to keep doing it. And so when I see those polls, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, because even before you look, if you see who's doing those polls, you can kind of guess what those polls probably say. And sure enough, they got Petro ahead by about 1.5%. The other 2 polls are not, I wouldn't say they're right-wing polls. They're kind of centrist or moderate. They don't really do a lot of hit job stories on anybody, left or right. They just kind of put the news out there. Yeah, we have a few here. And they have the race close, but they have Hernandez edging out Petro. And I tend to think that's the way it's going to be. I still think Petro's going to get about 45% of the vote. They have him up around 47%. I'll be surprised, but we'll see. I mean, polls are polls, and they're only polling like 1,000 people or so. None of these polls, I think the most was, I think it was 1,500 people. And it kind of depends on where in the country, because the left-leaning people of the country all live on the coast, with the exception of Bogota. And so you can, there's a map I have. I'll put it, this is going to be an edited video, so I'll put that up there. It's red and green, and the red is the majority of the people in those areas vote socialist, we'll say, and Bogota. And the vast majority of the country is is really much more moderate or conservative. But turnout's everything. Turnouts, like I say, tend to be pretty good here. But if there are people that tend not to show up on voting day, it'll be younger people. I asked a few people this week, do you plan on voting? And from age 31 down, the people I asked all said no. But that's here in Armenia, in Bogota. The political passions tend to be more so. You have a lot of activists out when there's protests. Now, what does it mean? Well, the thing is, if Petro loses, I believe he will, but who knows? If he loses, there's probably going to be a number of staged protests around the country. And as we saw last year, those protests were infiltrated by outsiders that created violence. So there'd be in a crowd of 1,000 people, there might only be 20 or 30 that are there to instigate violence, but that soon becomes more people in the crowd. And that's the whole point. It's a tactic they've used in the US a couple of years ago, you may remember, with the staged frozen water bottles and the pallets of bricks brought in and things like that. Well, the same tactic occurs here. And so if Petro loses, I think we're going to see these contrived or staged protests that a lot of people that just don't know, and going out to protest is a fun time, which is what it is here generally, infiltrated, and we'll probably see in Cali and Bogota in particular turn violent. That's my guess. You're probably going to see some national strikes created by these groups where they'll shut roads off. I don't know that that's going to happen. It's just my speculation. It's a pattern of things. Now, if Hernandez wins, on the other side of it, you're probably going to see a deep sigh of relief throughout most of the country. Now, if Petro wins, the protests won't be violent, there'll be celebrations. So you're going to have this, basically it's propaganda. It's going to try to portray to the rest of the world that the country is being burned down because Petro didn't get in. They might even come up with excuses about why. And if Petro does, there'll be celebrations so that they could say, see, the people of Colombia, they'll almost portray as liberation. And after centuries of leadership by conservatives, moderate or conservatives, we finally, can step into the modern world and blah, blah, blah. So again, these are all blind speculations, but there are patterns, historical patterns to point to some of this. So anyway, tomorrow we'll see what actually happens, and I'll be on live. If you care to join me, I don't know what time. My guess is it'll probably be 11 a.m. I think it's a holiday tomorrow for you, I believe. So you might be able to catch it. And for me today, I got some house cleaning to do. I have to figure out why my right leg isn't working right. I might even have to take a trip to the doctor. It's nothing serious, but you know how in the morning you're standing there and you got your pants and you step in one leg and then you step in the other. I don't sit down. I've always stood up and did that. Well, I step in with my left leg, no problem. I can bring my left leg up to here. My right leg, if I bring it more than 7 or 8 inches off the ground, the top of my right leg, it like seizes up and there's a pain that shoots up, and it's like, what the hell? Where did this come from? I guess it's a matter of getting older. It's like, last week I bumped into a non-existent obstacle and the left side of my body felt paralyzed, and I had all this pain, and I couldn't turned my neck, and which made it hard driving to Pineda. This way I could go, this way is like seized up. And after a few days, that calmed down. Now I get this leg thing happening. It's like, oh, what the hell? What's next? I think it's because I got kind of locked in the house for a few weeks because of issues. And so consequently, I haven't really been out walking. Now, I did go walk Pueblo to Pau and walked around, and I really didn't have any issues. Although, as we're finishing up, the sun came out, and I don't do well when it's really the sun's, in the afternoon when the sun's kind of direct, and it was, and it's like, oh, I did wear my hat. You need to do something when the sun's out. So anyway, I'm rambling, my trademark. I want to thank everybody, now that I've got you as a captive audience, for showing up for all the coffee times, for supporting this channel for all of these years, to keep me alive with this hobby or this project. I hope that you get a good return on your contributions or the time spent. I've tried to give you as much realistic information about Colombia as humanly possible. I try to do my homework, and it seems that many of you appreciate it. So it's great if it's a two-way street. I've never wanted to, and I never have chased views or tried to make this a popular content channel. I know how to do that. I've learned over time that if I'm very Pollyannish and if I'm very animated and if everything's always positive, and your channel will grow. And the more you do that, the more it will grow. I don't know. That's a little too fake for me. If I'm feeling down, I tell you. If I'm feeling pretty up, I'll tell you. And if I see something that I like, or if I don't like, I'm going to let you know. And it's not good for growing a channel. But it's not ever intended to be for a wide public audience. It's intended for people like you that are interested of when I was living in Ecuador or here in Colombia, because you're contemplating sometimes visiting, but most often, is that a place I want to go live? And having gone through that decision process myself, I certainly understand how important that is. For a lot of people, it's a one-way trip. You can afford to go and get set up, but you can't really afford to go back and rebuild a life. And so that decision is critical, and I take it very seriously, and that's why I try to put out what I put out. And so it is a very narrow audience. It's, on any given day, there's just a few hundred people that are interested. And over the course of time, 4,000 people that remain subscribed, despite YouTube. I discovered YouTube goes through and deletes people that are subscribed. If you subscribe but you stop getting notifications, you might want to look at that. I found out because I was watching another YouTube channel where that was happening. So I went back and I looked, and I could see where there's certain days where in batches, which wouldn't happen organically, I might lose 20 or 30 subscribers on one day for no apparent reason. Well, you're always going to lose a few, gain a few, and it's pretty consistent. But then all of a sudden you get this spike. That's YouTube. So if you were subscribed but you don't seem to be getting notifications, take a look at that. You might have to subscribe again, and you also have to click that notification bell. You have to go one step further. They started doing that about 3 years ago. So, all right, that's all I got for today. Again, thank you all for being here, supporting, and I will see you tomorrow live, and next week, coffee time. Ciao.
Bye.